Hey everyone, and welcome to the latest review of The Clone Wars. Star Wars Rebels, but it's kind of The Clone Wars. The episode The Final Battle is a major throwback to the Clone Wars series. It's basically a crossover, and it serves to provide closure for both the clone and separatist droid armies. Rex, Kanan, Zeb, and Ezra are sent to the Agamar system for some proton bombs when they run into some still functional battle droids led by a super tactical droid. And not just any super tactical droid, but it appears to be the same one from the Onderon arc of the Clone Wars, named Kalani. At the end of that arc, Dooku orders Kalani and his troops to relocate to the Agamar system, and it seems they've been there ever since. Having had no purpose for over a decade, Kalani wishes to have one final battle between clone, Jedi, and droid to prove who had the superior army. I like that Kanan basically agrees because he thinks fighting battle droids would be far easier than arguing. At one point, even Kalani admits his droids aren't accurate. With Rex representing the clones and Kalani representing the separatists, their fight is a good send-off for the Clone Wars series, which never really got a proper ending. I really liked the parallels between the two leaders. Rex may be human, but he was programmed for battle, the same as Kalani. Winning this fight is important to both of them, and the strategies used are based on a standard Clone Wars episode. A clone, a Jedi, and a Padawan against various droids. Kalani uses Zeb as a hostage because the Jedi had rescue missions so often in the Clone Wars. 132 times to be exact. He also says the Jedi split up 76% of the time. Now I'm very curious to know if the writers actually counted all that out. The simulated battle ends in kind of a stalemate and is fairly entertaining, but the second half of the episode is the stronger half. The Empire arrives to take out Kanan and his group, and Ezra is able to help Rex find common ground with Kalani. He points out that neither the Separatists nor the clones won the Clone Wars, the Empire did, and then both groups were cast aside to be forgotten. Now Rex's goals are to fight tyranny, the same as the Separatist goals once were. The two groups make peace and they fight together. They are able to hold off the Empire and successfully retreat in old Separatist shuttles, providing the crew of the Ghost with a replacement Phantom, and the episode ends with a Clone Wars-style logo complete with the music, which I thought was a really nice touch. It feels silly to say that this episode made me feel nostalgic, seeing as the Clone Wars wasn't very long ago, but it did. I think it was written and handled very respectfully, and while it only included some aspects of the series, it really was a satisfying final battle and episode. On to some stray thoughts. Rex suffers from a little PTSD. We see him acting less fatherly towards Ezra than we did in the season premiere. He yells at Ezra for his mistakes rather than offer encouragement. He forgets his age, acts hasty, and takes a couple hits for it. I like his line about the clone armor being stronger than stormtrooper armor. We see stormtroopers drop like flies all the time, and while that's mostly just to serve the story, in universe, you could rationalize that by saying the Empire cares less about its stormtroopers than the Republic cared for the clones. Well, they didn't care so much about the clones as much as they wanted to just ensure that they could take down the Jedi when the time came. But now stormtroopers are just cannon fodder. Like TIE fighters, they're equipped as easily and inexpensively as possible, and they're meant to be expendable. Rex at one point also thinks he hears Cody's voice, and he calls out to him. I think a lot of fans, including myself, would love to see a confrontation between those two old friends. In Legends, Cody remained with the Empire and trained stormtroopers. In canon, we do know that some clones remained with the Empire, and assuming Cody is one of them, he and Rex are perfect mirror images of each other. One that removed his chip and fled the Empire, and one that stayed loyal. They probably both consider the other to be a traitor. That would be an intense meeting for sure. It's also possible Rex could talk some sense into Cody. In the comics, Kanan is able to do something similar for his own clone commanders back when he was still a Padawan named Caleb. He is able to reason with one of them and break the spell, so to speak, of Order 66. That clone comes to realize what he did and earns himself a little redemption. Maybe Rex can provide that same redemption for Cody. Speaking of Kanan, I understand that this episode was more about finding closure for Rex, but Kanan was in the Clone Wars too. That's brought up, of course, but I wish a little more time was given to Kanan, especially considering the emotional climax of the story is all about finding common ground between former mortal enemies. Kanan and Rex's relationship is very much the same, and while they've already grown to respect each other, seeing Kanan lend a little more encouragement and support to Rex would have been very nice and fitting to see. The last thing I want to mention is one scene with Agent Kallus. In previous seasons, any mention of taking out his rebel nemesis would bring a devilish grin to his face. Now, when Governor Pryce goes after them, no such reaction, maybe even a hint of sadness or fear. I think that can be seen as more evidence pointing towards his possible defection. What did you guys think of the episode? Did it raise any questions for you that you want me to cover in a video? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.